Hello, hello, guys. Good evening. How are you guys doing this evening? I'll let you guys get in. Hope everyone had a good day. Hello, Pamela. How are you? How are you this evening? I hope everyone is well. I have a couple things to share with you guys after we've seen these last 2 days of court, which has been insane. I'm okay, Pamela. I'm recovering from another procedure. So it was hard for me to get on every day and keep on working and plugging away. So I've been doing the best I can to deliver as much as I can. Did you watch court today? Were you able to tune in? Thank you, Pamela. Much appreciated. It's a process, but I'll get there. A lot of things happen in court today. We've been waiting for Thorpe to get up there, and he was really just demolished. It was a total loss for the state. They did not deliver because there's not anything to deliver. When the judge said, "Where's the evidence?" Like, you're not saying anything. Like, where is the evidence? And that is something that she cannot come out and say at either time. Nothing, nothing can be said or done at that point. It's really an embarrassment that it keeps going on and on. And that is exactly why the title has what it has with pretended justice. There's actually a couple different terms of justice that this case is falling under. And the pretended justice is, just to fake. So it avoids people's suspicion of the judge who was working with the other side. And we've seen that with the judge in state with Glanville, and a lot of people are questioning Whitaker. But then you also have misplaced justice. And that's the error made in the court of law that results in an innocent person being punished or a guilty person being free. It is a conviction. The conviction is a miscarriage of justice. And I think that everyone is seeing that as well. And I know that it's got to be in the juror's head about misplaced justice, because several people that have taken the stand have been actually charged and then let go. And now you have a whole new set charged, and none of the evidence is pointing to them. And so we're really sitting watching misplaced justice as well. And a lot of people, there's so many, even misdirection of justice, where that's just an incorrect direction by a judge to a jury on a matter of law. And we've seen that as well. So it's really crazy to see how many different areas that this trial is really, it's covering so many aspects of it, and nobody's putting a stop to it. They're just sitting around. You said, I don't understand why she keeps trying to bring little D on the stand without him being able to recover. Yeah, the 28 new witnesses is insane, first of all. And her rushing little D. And then we heard about Arnold today that um, Merchant is his attorney, and they decided to move him up. And just conveniently, when Merchant had her vacation on file for a long time, to where she had to write the judge, and the judge to say, if his attorney's not here, she's not expected to be here. This was put in, so um, you'll have to hold on him. And then Love's suggestion was, well, maybe he'll be comfortable enough where she can have someone in her place. That was strategically done. And the judge should also recognize that. It has nothing to do about the arrangement of other witnesses or whatever the case is. Because if they go one or two or three witnesses the following day after whatever day she's going to be back is insane. No, she does not want to deal with Merchant at all because she had seen Merchant in action already. So I don't know if it sounded like Whitaker just kind of gave her the open platform of, did you speak to her and work it out? I mean, Ashley is not going to have someone go in place of her because that's what they decided to do with the witness. And asking for an advance is just proper because you got to make sure that your witness is ready and you don't know what they got going on. And in his condition, you would literally try to force him on the stand for days, and he's seriously in and out of the hospital in a sickle cell crisis is insane. And I don't know how the judge obviously did not make it clear enough that her actions are inappropriate because she wouldn't even thought about doing this with him in Grady. Now, what nobody knows, and I don't know if you heard or anyone else has heard, did he get the bond? Did the judge sign him out? Did the prosecution agree? Because they turned that portion off on camera. And the way she talked about it today, just for a brief moment in court, I was wondering what what occurred with that, because nobody's heard nothing else of that. But I really feel like it really should have been a bigger argument than what it was. I wish his father would have showed up with the attorney, because the father is very vocal. It probably would have made a way bigger impact than what it was. I just couldn't see. Um, I couldn't see that. And I couldn't see it for any of them. I mean, really on their list, like something is going on with their witnesses like every week. They don't got enough to fill the day, and she got yelled at behind that. It keeps continuously happening. Yes, Pamela, I agree. There is a lot more off-camera meetings now. And it is a repeated pattern. Every time we get on the subject of where is the evidence, she talks all around that. All of her words just run together. Like she has run on sentences that go in a total loop that comes out to equivalent of nothing. And when the judge said, "You're so mysterious," it's like, I don't even think that's the word, Judge. It's past mysterious. I mean, it's ridiculous is what should have been said. To say this is ridiculous, like by now, you should know. In turning over to defense, you're supposed to give it by 8 p.m. and they get it at almost 6 in the morning is crazy work because then they have to put together real fast what they need to cover for the day. It's really, I mean, I don't see how the judge don't look at that by trial by ambush by itself. And how all this new stuff, like when she was on direct today, she said, well, my next question is due to new evidence. There is no new evidence. Like, why are you even entertaining that? Like, that's not even allowed. Not only is discovery supposed to be given 10 days prior to the start of trial, but you have to stay within the RICO guidelines. It is not like regular charges, a regular case that you can try and do that with the RICO. You have to only stick to what is in the indictment, and that is what RICO works. That is what the grand jury signed for. Anything outside of that, you cannot bring in according to RICO. So I don't know why that's not being stood on way much more because they can get so much stuff excluded to this point if they put that forward. It tells you right in the cases. There's even appellant on there that tells you. You said she's not going to be able to go in public without looks on someone telling her off. People really do not like her. Yeah, I mean, she has, and it is not because she's trying a high profile case. It is how they have maneuvered. It is how they have done this case. You see the dirty backdoor things that they have done and are continuing to do. It's not stopping. So, with that being said, it's really, really disturbing. It's really disturbing to see that she really does not have no type of core. A regular human being that is a prosecutor that is doing the right thing by their job and not doing it corruptly would not even do half of the things that this woman has done. Hi, Monica. I mean, she's really getting away with, um, she has gotten away already with so much stuff, and she is an officer of the court. She's under oath, and she has literally gotten away with so much stuff that it's really an embarrassment to the rest of that office, to whoever does show up to that office. I'm sure there is a lot of employees within that office, and I'm sorry, but their name is smeared now. And I know a lot of people before were thinking that it is just Hilton and Love, um, and Atkins. They're all together and they're all standing by this mess. Um, and the back table. of the younger ones that still need to grow up. They are watching all the wrong examples. And they're being swallowed and demolished. And the judge seriously has seen all of this now, and she still doesn't think that a bond should be granted. I feel like bonds need to be renewed. A new motion. I don't think those should stop coming forward. And I would keep on about the reasons why. And they have prime examples on how they said how dangerous everyone was, and then they were able to walk free. So there's been a lot, and I would use all the circumstances that have arisen since the last bond, and I would go forward even harder. And you got so much stuff going on with Fani in her case right now. I mean, she's facing a big matter that DC News covered tonight, that they're in a meeting or that ran into after hours about her just ignoring these subpoenas. So I guess she was advised wrong by her counsel, because I guess she does not have the authority to ignore them. Um, there's certain powers they're not trying to get into. She said they can't intercede on her prosecution or her investigation, but that's not what they're doing. They have asked for specific things, um, that one way or the other does not stop what she's doing for prosecution wise. It's only verifying the things that they have to verify when it comes down to that money. And if you had it allocated a certain way and took it a certain way, that has nothing to do with him in that courtroom. It's related to, in a sense, yes, but how she viewed it as if I don't have to because you're impeding in an investigation, an ongoing investigation, but that is not what had occurred. They're asking for records. They're not saying you cannot and should not prosecute him. They're saying we need to review these funds that were mishandled and given in these different ways. And then you have to factor in, on top of that, all of their higher payroll that they're receiving, that not their entire office is receiving. As we did that online on one of our previous videos, we showed the inner circle that she is dealing with, her chief and Hilton and Adkins, on what their increases were. And then we pulled other people's name that were on the website, that were working within that office that are still making what they made last year, the year prior, and the year prior to that. And what are they doing differently? Like Simone, for her peers, Simone left and came back. And when she came back, it says right on that payroll that we went over, she was hourly for a minute. So that lets you know she didn't have a full seat under Howard. So you went to a full secure spot making quadruple of what your peer with your same title is making, that has been there continuously. That's a red flag for anybody. And for anybody else in that department that are trying to conduct themselves lawfully, willfully, and have some morals and ethics about themselves, they are overcasted because nobody sees them and nobody sees those actions. They're only seeing the behavior of the DA that is running this joint, the whole place, the chief, and then the two sidekicks. That's all they're seeing. They're not seeing nothing else. And I think that it's really going to go bad in her favor with the video that posted about her showing up with Wade and him driving the county truck um, to go get her daughter that was getting arrested. I think that is going to weigh negatively on her due to what she had alleged. And I believe that there are rules, and that is what had came back to use of county vehicles. So there's a lot that's going on with that. So with them in the meeting to talk about that, you would think that that office would not want any type of static or any extra look of any sort of corruption if that was her main concern coming into seat. As she said, she had to clean up a whole bunch of corruption that was there, that she said was there when she ran for office. So if you know that is what is being said while you're in the seat now, and everything you had spoke on is exactly what is happening now that you accuse Howard of, is really interesting to see that dynamic, because there's nothing that is being stopped on Love's behalf. Her behavior is continuing. And I don't know, did you guys get that whole thing with Hilton and that email yesterday? It was like a big deal. She had to have her be there, but somehow or another, they said, ended up just saying that it was a big misunderstanding, but it seemed like they didn't want to cover all of that on camera either. And it's like once you start hiding things from the public and want the cameras to be shut off, you're hiding a lot more. And if it's a public trial, it is a public trial. That means through and through, unless you're at the bench. And if you don't have them all at the bench and you have everybody where they're at, she says for comfort, well, it should be open court then, because that is what open court is when everybody is in place. And a bench is considered a bench for in private. They have to be up in front of you. But I'm not sure what Whitaker is, what she's thinking that she's able to get away with, on how she is just finishing all the sentences for Love, but then turn around and scold her and yell at her, but she's all bark, no bite. She is completely all bark, no bite. How many times have you heard that state get yelled at for not following the judge's orders, for not having things done on time, for not turning things over to the defense when the judge has stated to do so, turning it in very late, bringing up new things in the midst of trial? All of their things that she is allowing, it is nothing further than just saying it once and then letting it go, and then giving them whatever remedy that they ask for or whatever excuse that they make. At what point do you put your foot down to say, you've had this case for 9 years, we've been in trial for over one, they have been locked up 2.5, you don't get no more time. You have to present this from the start of the day to the end of the day. How many times have they started late because the state is late? Because they're in other courtrooms serving RICOs to the family. And they want them to trying it. It's a setup. Yes, Pamela. Pamela says, yes, she is. But today and she says, Whitaker seemed to be more frustrated with Love today. I mean, well, you have to be. You have to be. She's talking in circles. She's absolutely talking in circles. You cannot get no straight answer out that woman if you pay her. She cannot give you an explanation worth nothing. It's just the way that she operates, because how are you supposed to explain BS? How are you supposed to explain no evidence? How are you supposed to explain setup and corruption? You can't. You can't. That's why I went over the justices, the different types and what applies. And there's so much that falls into these young men that the judge is not doing no service to have blind justice. The judge is making matters worse by allowing this day after day after day after day. Now, if you get stuck and still don't have an explanation and you have a judge straight out asking you, but what is your evidence? What trial do you see that at? You watch the trial, do you see a judge up there have to keep on asking the prosecution team on any trial that you've seen, what is your evidence after they've heard a day of bullshit? BS. Sorry. So how is she doing her job? How is she doing the right thing? And how is she giving any type of injustice? Why she has stripped all these men of their liberties? They are not even bondable because the state said so. So you can allow someone to stay in that state and keep on incurring to run up the county tax bill. And you see that, and you see what you deal with day in, day out. How many times has Love not had another witness ready? And there's the excuse every time. Did anybody catch when they were on cross? Love had held up her notebook for way longer, like in front of her as she was holding it as a sign. And it wasn't like she was just froze, unless she was froze at what the question and answer was. But I watched that, and then I noticed the judge start paying attention, and then she sat it down and then start flipping through the pages like crazy fast. As to like make noise, stare over at me, but the detective was staring at the podium without turning his head. And Mr. Brown was upset yesterday. He got called Miss Brown. I didn't see when they addressed it until I seen a short video online where Brown was upset he was called Miss. But then you seen the sheriff or the guard of the courtroom, the little pudgy guy, come whisper something in his ear and was smiling. So he was probably like, she didn't mean it. But you can tell when Whitaker is going to come in and have an off day, to where she's like crabby or just over it. But I think that that judge owes it to these gentlemen to know what RICO and to familiarize herself with what RICO is and what the RICO laws are, because she will clearly see they do not have it. And she will know how to better rule with doing a RICO case because it is not the same as if they just are in a regular trial from regular charges. It is very specific, and you can tell that the judge is not familiar. You could tell the state is not familiar, and you can tell the defense is doing the best that they can. They have knowledge of it. But when in Atlanta have you seen mobster or big time organizations on a RICO? You haven't. These RICOs are really newer for this county. And so, with that being said, you want them to be able to know the substance and the layers and how it is dramatically different. I've sat through an entire RICO case. An entire RICO case I've sat through. And it was my family. And it was crazy to see that everything had to stay within the RICO. So it's like if you have a state charge and say you get arrested and you got 6 charges on you and you're in jail and you take it to trial, they can add in new evidence, they could take away, they can do all that, and you go through the regular processes. In a RICO, you have to stick exactly what you put on that indictment. You can't go outside of that at all. And you can't introduce anything else into it. So what you have on there is what you're able to do. Because when the grand jury indicts it, it is very different guidelines. And it states also in there, because if you add something new, you don't know if the grand jury would approve that or if it was something that would have made them not sign the grand jury indictment. And so we have found out very fast, like, oh, okay, well, we know exactly it's got to strictly be to this. Whatever photos they put in there, whatever records they put in there, whatever else, all these extra photos that were introduced, according to RICO, they're not even able to do that. And that's why it's disappointing that, the layers and the substance of how they prove it, you want them to be able to really advocate that. So the defense, they could get so much stuff taken out already that has been introduced that was not within that RICO. And like today was a prime example. Love was trying to tie a connection with Stevens and didn't know how to explain. She's saying we have to prove that they're in connection. So the state is trying to prove it as, we'll see, they were friends, they knew each other, and that does not satisfy what the RICO and the Furtherance and Organization of the Corruption Organization Act. None of that would solidify the substance of that. So with her even trying to make that connection, if she knew RICO, she would know that that is one of the things that you can't use because it has no substance. There has to be concrete evidence that there was something that they have done to all together in furtherance of major planning. And usually you will see days and days of, like, one part of the trial for the RICO, they had to go over a meeting and they had 7 days worth of planning on the meeting. And that's how they had to show, and every single person had to be in attendance. So you do not see little stuff like, oh, see, he mentioned him on a call or a text, so he does know him. That would not satisfy that. So the little things that they are trying to connect, excuse me, if they knew what all the ingredients were, they will see like, oh, well, we're wasting time. Well, that's why they can't get out what the evidence is, because these little connections, it makes no difference. They're all from the same area. So that has already been established. So you're moving with no meaning, knowing that none of these gentlemen that are sitting here fighting for their life every day really have to pay attention to much, because there's nothing happening. And all of these individual things that were going on that they try to throw all together, they have to connect every single dot. This was done because of this. This was done because of this. And you can't, because you already had all of the main ones testify. I did this by it was a single act, and that's how they were charged, and that's how they did their time. So there's no way to give a different version. That version is done, it's completed, even the times are completed, and in some of their cases, they're still, carrying out that sentence of whatever they were charged with individually, and then this came. So there's no way for them to connect the dots that all of it was aligned with each other. And the judge being inexperienced in the RICO makes me want to always throw stuff at the TV, because I'm like, it's here they go. They way outside of the guidelines again. They way outside. This is not a regular case. It's a RICO. And you can't do that in a RICO. I had to sit through every single day of it, and it lasted a while. Nothing like this though. Nothing like this. And all RICOs, you get a bond. And you mostly see RICOs on federal level. And you never will see nickel and dimers. Like never. This is the exception right here that they are trying to, and it's really an embarrassment, because if you look at true RICOs, it's a whole lot of substance. It is nothing of this. All of this stuff is so minor when you hear what their background is and what their charges have been. Oh, getting caught with a weapon. What did Woody, not having a driver's license, um, having the gun, or whatever, all of what their back charges are. It is nothing of significance that you can even prove that each individual even would even fit their qualification of the of what RICO describes. And the great thing about RICO is the cases are so clear cut. But you would, like, to a regular RICO, they wouldn't even mention the stuff that they are fighting on and standing on, wouldn't even be mentioned in a regular RICO, because it don't have any substance. Like, there would be no way they put nickel and dime sales in there, or wanting to use that as a big thing, as calling them big drug dealers or any of that, when that's all you have. And it proved itself, because when they did have their independent hiccups with the law, they had public defenders. Some of them had the public defenders. So it's it's like, Whitaker, where are you at? Like, when you check in for the day and you get to your bench, like, where is your head at, or what have you done the night before, or what have you done in preparation to be handling a huge RICO case? Because she's dealing with it as in this is just a regular case before her. And a RICO ain't that. And you see all these little back in finishing the sentences for the state, and then the state does not have an answer. And we still don't have clarification about that mysterious email with Hilton, and that they said it was a misunderstanding. Was it? Or was it another tactic that didn't work? Or was it another tactic that was being brought out and it was mitigated again? Just like the stuff with little D, that was mitigated. There should have been on camera, literally questioning her on why he was not able to recover and be able to come as a witness the following week or in 2 weeks. On what difference will it make if you still have 100 and something witnesses left and you just added 28 more? So you have that many added and that many to go, but it is of dire need that that boy goes this week. You got to make it make sense. And then with Arnold, you're going to wait until Ashley Merchant's vacation come up for you to try to move Arnold up. And you know Ashley ain't going. She's the one that prepared the case. She's going to sit right there. She's not going to send somebody in place of her. Monica says emoji, social media, infinity photos from 10 plus years ago for a RICO is ridiculous. Exactly. And that the transcripts of, I think it was Verizon, they said, or US Cellular about the switch, the state will never get the answer that they're looking for, because that was a part of the RICO. For my family that had one, and the switch does that. And it is text, it is numbers, text, paragraphs, um, all the symbols, all of that. You just may not, because of how much network signals that are being sent back and forth, and it can only hold so much. Have you ever sent a message to somebody and then they tell you what you said and you say, "Oh, I didn't mean to say that," or you don't remember putting it like that? It's because of how it's translated through. So what the state wants them to say, that it is matter of fact and 100% reliant, and it's not. And the company that actually makes the software will tell you that it is not accurate. You can look it right up. Nobody can testify to that because they literally can bring in um, them just like they did, and they went over that it could not be verified. And then the infinity photos are crazy because you cannot see the emblem, and the back lights of the car is actually to a similar looking car that I know they have brought up during Cross, and I know that they're going to come touch on that again, in which they should. But what we're seeing is misplaced justice. We've seen evidence that suggests a whole different person, and you have the murder on two of the people sitting in the courtroom. And we've already have heard this murder to be charged now, I believe, to 4 people, not including the ones that are sitting trial. So you wonder when the judge has not just a responsibility of looking backwards, but she has a responsibility of knowing how to handle a RICO case, because that is not just a regular case before you. And she will see that there wouldn't even be this long drawn out trial because it doesn't meet the substance. You have to have the substance off the rip. and going way outside of what that indictment says is um, it can shut it all down. It's like, what's that man's name? What's the older guy's name with the white hair that sits all the way in the back? Mr. Bots? Is that his name? I think it's Mr. Bots. I don't know who does he work with, or what is his role? Because he was very suspect in the incident with the lawyer with the pill, or one of, yeah, somebody with the pill or whatever that had came up to Jeffrey. I don't know if it was the defendant or whoever the person was, and you could totally see it was a setup with the guards pointing at each other, telling them when to go, knew everything, walked up to the table with them. It was like I went back and watched that video and I pulled up every angle that was online, and that was 100% set up. So for the defense to say, well, nothing ever came back from the investigation, is because it was too plain and too clear, but they seen that. When you look at it from the front angle, you can see, and then the side angle, you can see more clear to the table. So it was a setup because they were Love was losing prior to, and they knew that Bond was coming back up, and it was a total setup. Okay, he's the second attorney for Stillwell. Okay. I don't really hear of him, but I just remember, I don't know if they were moving him out the way or if he shook his head to move himself out the way. It could have just been something innocent, but I'll have to relook at that. But I was just wondering who he's with and what his role is. If you guys go back and watch that part of the video, is suspect on every angle. And they knew that that new motion was coming because it was already filed. So the length and the depth that they're trying to go to add things into this case is very disgusting. And because they know that they don't have enough, and they know that they don't have the substance of a RICO, so they keep trying to throw things in and add things in. How many times have y'all heard over just the past 2 days of new names that have come up in the past 2 days that nobody has even heard of? And Sharp had to say something. And I like when they go on Cross, where Steele will set up all the foundation direct and then have Sharp come in. It seems like, they Steele shut it down today. He shut it down with how he was questioned. It is very suspect. How do you not have none of those notes, and why didn't none of this stuff go in your reports? Hi, Lovin. I mean, that is suspect. That is very, very suspect. None of it went in your notepad. And then when he said refurbishable, you can't refurbish paper, sir. A notepad is either filled or not filled. You can't un-ink that. I was like, refurbishable. I mean, who, I don't know, but the squirrel thing popped in my head when that came out, when he said he refurbishes his notepads. And I'm like, there is no such thing of refurbishing a notepad. When it's full, it's full. But you do keep those, as he said, he has over 200 or whatever. You do keep those because those are your notes, and you don't ever know what cases are going to go to trial. And he says, true. but somehow everything according to this trial is there's nothing at all, not one page, not nothing in a notepad you can find through different places that you've went to. You took no notes, zero. Or if you did, they're gone. But all your other notepads are refurbishable. Somehow you can undo that ink and reuse them. And I just want to know how you do that, sir. I'm going to need a demonstration on that. I think you will go viral in 1 minute if you post a video and you show America how you can refurbish a notepad. That's embarrassing. Loving, he was definitely lying. He definitely was. And you can tell he definitely was. Um, and the judge is then watching this. Hi, Aries. Welcome back. Glad you could make it today. It is to the point that there has been enough of these actions and enough things that they have been caught on. It is the judge's duty, because it is definitely misplaced justice. And you don't even hear Jeffrey come up in anything day to day. I mean, obviously, because he had a total different life. You can't have fashion shows, design clothes, do music in the studio, have a label, manage other artists, having to go on tour, having to do press conference, having to practice, having to do choreography, get all the lighting and get the stuff for the shows together. You can't do all that every day, all day, and have what they want to put in your mind that somehow they're on Cleveland, nickel and diamond it. Because that is the picture that they painted. And that they are fighting with a whole nother side because of the thing with Donovan Thomas. And it's like, do you guys really think that the narrative that you're going to paint, that they would have an ulterior motive with him? But there is a whole ton of pictures where he's been in their studio sessions, has stopped by, um, shaking hands, cordial. You're going to pin it there, but there is over 5,000 videos online of Donovan with crowds and hundreds of people at a time and beefing with people. And somehow the ones that he was shaking hands with, you're going to put it there because it fit the narrative. Like, you have the wrong ones in the seats. Has anybody looked at the trial and say, wow, like every single seat is incorrect? Like every single, like it is misplaced, as I said, and the judge clearly can see what is happening. Aries 1 says, I think the giggling Judge Whitaker seems to be coming to the realization that DA Love's behavior has a direct reflection on her. She's allowing it. She has done nothing to stop it. She is allowing it. And she's allowing the behavior. And she's allowing the lack of candor. She's allowing the being late, turning in things late. She's allowing not to have enough witnesses. She's allowing them to come to court late. She's allowing them to not follow through with orders the court has gave. More than 5 occasions we can name that she has not followed through with what the court has ordered them to do. I said earlier that she is they have smeared the entire prosecution office, because if you have the head honcho, Willis, running it like that, and the chief acting with this type of behavior in court and these type of actions, if anyone is left in that office with any type of dignity, morals, or ethics, they would come forward and they would reach out for help. And if they were smart, they would, because they can go right on open payrolls and see what all their coworkers are making as we put up all their salaries. It's only the certain ones that are underneath Bonnie doing this type of work that we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. I was told that the parents of Donovan stopped coming to court a long time ago. Why do you think that is? Do you think it has something to do with what they've heard with all the evidence and they know that this is not correct? Or do you think it's the behavior of the state and they're not with that? Because both his parents were handled reckless by love. The way his mother was questioned and how she was questioned, it was irrelevant to have her do and say the things that she said. It made no difference. But to do that to a mother that had lost a child is crazy. And then when she tried to throw in the stuff with Rich Homie Quan, as soon as they announced his passing, she tried that little lick on the record. And that was crazy. That was crazy, evil work that she did on that part. It don't make no sense that immediately within an hour of them, an hour hadn't even passed by of them announcing it, she had already did a slick move off of that. So that lets you know she'll try to do whatever it takes to get her way within that courtroom. And she don't even know the substances of RICO. And not only that, the way that she's allowed to present some of them and do absolutely nothing and keep on re-questioning them to get the answer, several times they've had to stop her. She has a very leading, she'll change her tone to make it work for her. If she has to get the microphone and pace, if she has to stand in front of the witness, she'll do that. Monica B says Hilton's a professor. I hope her superiors are watching this. And they should. They should. And they should be wrote. They should be wrote. It's highlighted of what their antics have been. And when they have been caught with their hand in the jar. Love more than Hilton, but Hilton ain't clean. Hilton is not clean. She's just trying to hide her hands better. She's better at throwing the rock real fast and trying to hide your hand. But everybody has caught on to her antics and how she's doing it. But you do notice she's been really falling back, I want to say, for this past 2 weeks. But it seems like when I don't know if y'all have caught this, but I'm going to bring it to y'all attention. Have y'all seen that when one of them, either Love or Hilton, is missing for a half a day or a day, it's some bull crap that come out the next day or by latest the day after that on what they had did that day. Like Hilton was gone all day, and what happened with Lil D. And then Love was gone for a half a day, and then all the email stuff came up. It's always a when they're gone, something comes through and it's something they get caught doing. That lets you know that if they can't put other people on these tasks, it's dirty. It's dirty work. If you got to do the work yourself, it's dirty work. When you got a whole office that is a high profile case, you should have several people at your disposal. But there got to be something that they're not going to do the dirty work, or they might be frustrated with them for smearing the name. Because I'm going to tell you, I look at it as if your boss is running that way and your chief is running that way, that office is running that way. Because ain't no person that has any type of morals and ethics and taking their oath as an officer of the court of the state seriously, and they honor and abide by that, they're not going to stand by this. And then you have to look at how many years they have been within that county. On top of that, Whitaker was a deputy district attorney before in that very same office. So she worked alongside Willis. She worked alongside Love. Hilton, probably not as much from when the transition, only probably got 3 years with Hilton, according to how their years are online for their profile. So that's another reason why I don't feel like it is fair or just when you have judges that have worked alongside of these prosecutors in the same capacity. It's a conflict of interest. It can either weigh positive for you or negative for you, depending on what your relationship was with the person. You can't tell me they didn't know each other or they didn't have any type of bond or anything. You're coming from the same office, the same workspace. It never should have been handled in that county. It's too many conflict of interest surrounded all the way together. And everybody's running for all these everybody's running for all these false narratives. It seems like they're Atkins, Love, and Hilton are on 3 different pages, and it's clear. But I want to know why Atkins' face always looks surprised when it's some BS that's about to, in the middle of being on rap, when the judge starts asking questions and Love or Hilton is explaining. I want to know why he looks so confused every single time. Y'all start paying attention to his face when they're being questioned, when the ladies are being questioned on their BS or what they have done or what their explanation is. You notice that every single time his face looks surprised. He either put his hand over on his forehead, put his head down, or he'll open up his eyes and look real serious and then put his head down. So it makes you wonder, are they leaving him out of the dirty parts and only bringing him in on the working parts? Because I'm gonna tell you, Hilton and Love are on the same accord. They're just keep on tag teaming each other in and trying to cover up. When one can't cover it, then the other is trying to cover it, and it still comes out and equates to nothing. To where they can't even hold a little bit of dignity and say, Judge, we are not opposed to bond. Because it's been enough examples shown that it's bias. And they're putting another judge in that is trying to hear, oh, they're this big bad. Well, if they haven't been back through their 9 years since when you guys are saying this occurred, why would they be back during a high profile trial to do something and you have nothing else? Pamela says, I think they bring Atkins in when necessary. That's Pamela. I get that same feeling, and that's what I'm watching. But like I said, the letters have all went out to all the higher ups. The letters have been wrote, and I had a lengthy one to the judge, because they need to know the different violations that these young men are blurred within. If the state tells you you cannot do these things with a prisoner and you can't use those guidelines against them due to they're not prisoners and they have not been convicted, and a pretrial detention facility for Georgia states that certain things have to take place if you do have them in for an extended period of time. And if they're in the different housing that they're in, there has to be certain things that taken place. And I can rest assured they haven't been. So I want to see that coming from the defense. Because these men, with it being 2 years and 4 months, almost 5 months in, it'll be 2 years and 5 months. A pretrial detention facility is not set up to even house someone for that length of time. So they're way outside of their guideline of what their rules and regulations are that we went over the other day. And so I would definitely have to bring that to the court. All of them would have to put motions forward. The ones that are eligible for bond, I know Rodelius Ryan is currently serving time. So his bond really wouldn't be applicable to him. I believe Nichols is in middle. Is Nichols in middle a certain time? I believe so. I think the only 3 that would be eligible that are in the case right now is Jeffrey, um, Diamante, and Shannon. But I don't know if Shannon's in the middle of serving some time. But I know Jeffrey and Diamante definitely, especially those 2, and I don't even know how they were even able to get away with charging Diamante Kendrick for anything when all the evidence has come out. I don't know how the state hasn't taken that charge off of him. And then you have Jeffrey sitting there with literally a charge, a RICO, that they don't have the ingredients. They don't have it at all. You can't change the ingredients. and they don't have it. So I know Whitaker didn't want to argue that the other day when they touched on it very briefly, when Love was trying to convince the judge that um, any post overact or any could be added in. That lets you know that they don't know RICO. And the judge was getting on the right path, but you could tell that she's unclear about the substance of RICO. And her rulings that she's making is very clear. She don't know the substances of a RICO trial. Pamela says, all previous cases that Love and Hilton have tried now need a second look with a fine tooth comb. 1,000%. How many of these young men that don't have paid attorneys and don't have a camera on them have been railroaded? It's going to be way more. Um, we heard today of a case that Love and Thorpe were on together, and there was issues on evidence. What does that tell you? You heard Steele when he brought that in today. It's a pattern. And Glanville has, Monica says Glanville too. Yes, Glanville does definitely need oversee of his case, and especially because of his condition. And I talked about that. And I didn't mean any disrespect to no service dog or anybody that is in need or use of a service dog. I respect service dogs and what they're there for and what they're used for. But when you are an officer of a court and you are a chief and you are required and mandated the physical use of that dog for emotional stability, is scary when you have other people's lives in your hands and their entire outcome of their life is dependent on you, and no person should be subject to any other higher remedy based off of mood stability, because the remedy automatically will be unfair. And that's something that needs to be looked into further. And I believe that the laws need to have some type of screening requirements for judges on a consistent basis to ensure they are mentally healthy. There was a judge that just went viral who said in open court that she was a new racist, and they had to remove her from the bench. So when did her new racist quote unquote feelings surface? And how many cases of minorities did you have before you with that mindset? And that's what I say is there has to be, I have it on one of my subject lines to speak about this, because I would like to work towards a law to be put in place where judges of every state has to go through a mental health screening periodically. It shouldn't be just if you get the vote, you get the seat. Because there are people that within life and life changes, they become unstable. It's life. It happens to everybody. That is their professional position. So they are not exempt from that. They're not exempt from feelings. They're not exempt from emotions. They're not exempt to depression. They are not exempt from racism. Because they took the seat does not mean these things do not occur with them. And on a broader level, it needs to be talked about. And we have seen, for example, Blandville's moods unstable. And we have seen what his ego looks like when he doubled down on Steele. And then going to sentence him and say he ain't getting due process is insane. The Superior Court had to jump in. This ain't done. They're doing their briefs now, but accountability needs to happen from this. And the Superior Court needs to put an end to this trial because they see on a state level it is not going to happen. It is not going to happen. They're going to keep on going and going and going. There has been enough that has happened with this case that has been 1,000% tarnished, that they know that this case will not stand on its heels forward, backwards, or sideways. Do not even put no more tax dollars into it. That's how you know that they are willing to be negligent for a win. And that's malicious prosecution. They are willing to do things undercover that they know are not within their guideline or their law or their regulations. They are willing to step outside of that to get whatever they can get to pin them. That is malicious prosecution. That is a witch hunt. That is by any means necessary. They are going to try to make it happen. And when you have that mindset and that outlook, nothing good comes from that. And somebody is going to take the fall for all these actions. And I'm not talking about defendant. There's going to be consequences and repercussions that are going to come in a higher form due to their actions. And I'm going to tell you, when it comes down to pointing the finger, the highest one that has the most marks is love. But I believe love is going to throw it on Hilton. And I believe love is smart enough to set Hilton up to do certain tasks to make sure her hands are tied up. Did y'all catch on to the ex parte? Love was there in the beginning, then left, and then came back, and Hilton was the person speaking. And all the dirty stuff was on record when Hilton was there. You think that was by accident? Love knew how to exclude her hand in case things went south, and they did. They were exposed. And the same date matched up from the years prior of what they were trying to put together, June 7th and then June 7th, June 10th and then June 10th again, and then June 7th. Those were two big days that they had mentioned that they were being accused of things years prior, the defendants, and then those are the days these meetings happen and the corruption came out. I'm telling you, this trial is guided by a higher form. By the way things are being revealed and the way things are being unwrapped. It's like love is setting up if there is, I believe she knows there's a fall coming. There's no way in her professional capacity she doesn't know that there is a consequence or repercussion coming from this. And she knows good and well that there is going to be complaints to the bar. It she's you see with the stuff with little D, Hilton was out that day before. And so it's like another thing that you can get caught being dirty, but you made the order, but you didn't do the act. And so the proof is on the other person. And that's why I say Hilton is going to be the fall person, because love is working her hand in a way where she's making sure that it's stirred up and it's the way that she wants it. But when it comes down to laying the dirty work, she ain't the one putting in them steps. She masterminding it with her boss, because that's where the approval got to come from. So what you think good's going to come out of that? The defense ain't going to let it go. You had an attorney, a reputable attorney within his community, involved in a whole bunch of organizations, goes to all these colleges and speaks and does all of these great things and has a great reputation to be a great guy. And you jail him for doing his job, knowing that your prosecution team is wrong. You know that. You know it was wrong. And so, since who the person released all the information, what happened to that deputy? Did nobody hear nothing of that? Where's that deputy at? And then on top of that, you don't think that that was a emotional move on Glanville to put Steele to report to jail on Father's Day weekend? He put a couple weekends down the road, he had to report to jail, and he chose Father's Day weekend. The day Father's Day was, he was to report. That was a direct emotional move that he pulled. And that's why I brought up the emotional stability. Because if you do notice, when right before he walked off, he was recessing the bench as he was already walking away, which that's a whole different issue, because you are not supposed to do that. But that dog was ringing. So, as Steele said, I don't need 5 minutes. I'm ready to go to continue forward. He was ready to state his case. And the judge did that out of emotion and came back and still doubled down, and then came back and doubled down a third time and said, you're to report to jail for 20 weekends starting Father's Day. And that was a direct stab. That was, whatever I'm going to do to you is what I'm going to do to you. And that's what it is. And they loved that. That was, if you go back and rewind and look at the state's face, Love smirked. And Hilton put her head down and put her hand over her head. She was hiding her face. So I say, if you have an attorney that has to go through all that and go through the physical emotions of that, of just doing his job, and then still try to advocate after to do his job, and he was actually just doing his job, nothing has happened to the state, and they have actually done things on record. Nothing's happening. And so you have to look at all of these things that are wrapped up into one. And then now you got Whitaker on that just laughs at all the wrong reasons. And then she failed the other day. Like, busted her stuff and then got right back up. But it seems like some of Most of the time, she's not even there. When there's an objection, how many times have you guys observed when there is an objection where she's like, huh? And then she'll say, what was the question again? It's like, where were you just at? And somebody needs to fix her computers because she cannot see everything that is going on in the court with that big old computer in front of her head. Like somebody needs to move that because she needs to be more in direct view of the prosecution, not only when she's scolding them and then she sits all the way upright, but half the time she's not even there. Lovin, she said she just don't care. When today, Lovin? In what context did she say that? I didn't see that part. I did not catch that. Was that today or yesterday? I know she doesn't care to go backwards to know what rules or what has been ruled on. I do know that. Levin says, I'm talking about the judge. She sees everything and she allowed it to happen. She don't care. Absolutely. Yeah, she's watching. I mean, that lady is far from slow. She is far from slow. So playing in the capacity that she's even entertaining and even playing, it doesn't even make any sense. She has heard now several of the witnesses all be charged with the murder. Now the murder on other. She's seeing that the evidence is not pointing to anyone sitting in them chairs that are fighting for their life. And she's allowing this. She's seeing there's no evidence. We will never see again judges asking on a continuous basis, where is your evidence? What is your evidence? That is publicly coming out that continuously you don't have anything. You don't have anything of significance. And unfortunately, you may have had it right in the beginning, but you guys dismissed everything, and that's your fault. That's your fault. You have to live with that. You have to deal with that, or however y'all decided to prosecute, or however you guys decided to go forward. There was a reason why it was denied several times. There has been nothing different or of substance that is helping, and you're allowing these men of to be stripped of their liberties for this and still have it in your head that they are some terrible people, but you don't have the evidence to show that they're terrible people. You have pictures from when they were so young. They had hair. Woody had a full set of hair on his head, number one. They had such baby faces in there that they look like little children. And so Levin says the detective didn't even investigate anything. No, he went to the places. They didn't give up nothing. They didn't have the proper recordings, nothing of significance, nothing you can get, and somehow doesn't have his notes. Nothing's in his reports. Um, so everything that he's saying that the state tried to pull out of him and use in court is not verifiable. It's not on reports. He has no notes. He has none of that. And this is the only detective that I know can refurbish a notepad. He is probably the first one in history. The Guinness World Record book probably needs to contact him for being the only person in the world to refurbish paper. Levin says they were all teenagers. Absolutely. Marcy says, how was Thorpe assigned to their school as kids? Exactly. And then on top of that, Marcy, to put more embarrassment on it to the state, said he talked to a total of 8 kids, but didn't know if they were directly linked to anything. It was just talk. How is that of any significance as juveniles? That you talk to 8 kids? Like, you have to make some type of sense of this mess. And was that in the indictment? Because if it's not in the indictment, it shouldn't even be talked about. And Love is trying to connect these dots for friendships that doesn't give anything. That doesn't give no in furtherance of. It doesn't give you the ingredients for Rico. It doesn't give you any of that. It don't matter if they are all connected. They all grew up together. They know each other. You've established that. That's not criminal. There's nothing wrong with going to the neighborhood park to barbecue. Everybody does it in the hood. Everybody has their own set of local park on their side of town. But of course, she's going to blow up that narrative, but especially Love is. Love is from the farm. She said it in her campaign video. She don't know about city life. She don't know about being in poverty. She don't know about that. She knows uh chasing pigs in dirt. Two total separate. She don't know the struggle. So she's not going to understand it on no level. She was she had a different she had a different upbringing. So she's not going to have any respect on making it out and making something of yourself. And it seemed like all of them were mad because he had a lot of money and a lot of land, a lot of houses. And we seen what their payrolls, their salaries, what they were working for. And I honestly didn't even know that as prosecutors, they get paid that low. I was like, ain't no way. Ain't no way I would have to walk around every day and have to look over my shoulder and be the most hated for that type of salary. You got to be lying. I was thinking that they made some big old money. I'm like, oh man, now I see why some of them choose to be dirty and be paid off under the table because they ain't making nothing. They are this with Fonnie now. It says, how can she choose and pick people friends? Not only that, Lovin, she tries to put her own relationships together. Like today, she was trying to make this relationship with a new person we heard with Stevens. What does that matter? Stevens ain't even sitting in the seat. What the hell does that matter if they have a relationship or know of each other? And she said, we have to prove a relationship within all of them. Yes, Love, you do, but it has to be of Rico substance, not a friendship. You have to prove that all of these acts were planned and maintained by the person that you said it is. And none of it fits the criteria. So you trying to make connections of friendships don't give you that ingredient. You look silly. Lovin says that's the problem. He make more money than DA. Yeah, I mean, he makes that more in one night, one show. Not even a tour, one concert of the tour. He makes more than what they make in an entire year. And that's why they're mad. It's really it's really sick that what Whitaker said, Miss Love, you are a mysterious woman. I'm like, that's the word you come up with? Mysterious. Mysterious woman. It's like it's past mysterious. Just ask her when she had to come straight out and say, but what is the evidence? And Love was like, well, and then you just see her hands start flying around and twisting back and forth. And I said, oh, here it comes. It's coming now. It's about to come. But it's really hurting them to the point that the more they keep stretching, they're trying to stretch every witness that they put up there and have nothing. And they try to stretch it whatever way they can and ask in 3, 4, 5 different ways to try to get the answer. You have to look at it from a standpoint that if you do every single witness like that and the judge allows it, they'll be here to 2026. We've seen a whole witness for a whole week that gave absolutely nothing. We've seen a witness for a whole month that gave absolutely nothing. It's a repetitive thing because they're grabbing everything from the air and trying to make it stick. And I don't, the jury, there's no way that the jury can even process the half of anything. I don't even think that they can you imagine being a juror and getting the verdict form and having 191 overacts listed and 190 of them you can't even put guilty or not guilty on because they're outside of the statute of limitations. So to have only one that qualifies to where they could all choose that one, it doesn't meet the ingredients because a RICO calls for 3. So that's why I'm just so disgusted by like why nobody is fighting the guidelines of the RICO because they wouldn't even be allowing none of this mess in and they would have so much stuff taken out. Monica says a total waste of time. Lovin says she's bipolar. Lovin says correct. Who is the mysterious witness? She said mysterious woman or person or you're no, what she say? You're such a mysterious person. I didn't see anything about a witness. I know she just has a real big issue with telling the defense for sure on who are the next witnesses, and it should not be top secret. They're already all named. They're already all on a list. Like, what are you afraid of for them to have any type of preparation when they have already been on their A game? They have already went through everything that you have turned over. You guys are unprepared because you can't put together BS. BS don't stick. And when you keep on saying, well, this is our belief and we believe, and well, this is our theory, it's not going to work. But their actions with little d and his condition and still doing that lets you know that they do not care what measures they go to as long as they get it their way. And that is exactly her motive. And for the judge to not put her foot down and really stick to the rules that she put to in the beginning, she is running circles around that judge. And the more the judge is up there on the bench, she is showing she is incompetent of withholding her courtroom to the standards that every other judge in America is going to hold their prosecutors to. She is doing things that should never be allowed or to get away with. No other prosecution team within their states are allowed to be able to practice that way, have lack of candor. The judge would have had them removed the first time. Pamela says if Diddy gets a bond and Jeffrey doesn't, it's about to go down. Pamela, they denied Diddy's bond this evening. They did deny. He did offer to put up his Miami home. He offered to sell something else, sell his planes or something or another. He already had to turn in his passport. They did take all of his children's passports as well in the meantime. But they denied Diddy's bond today, which is not uncommon for your first one to get denied. But if he gets a bond within a month, I know that's something. But federal is way different. Federal, you can have a whole bunch of crimes, but what federal don't do is they don't deprive people of their liberties. They're going to allow you to bond. Because if you make anything further wrong for yourself, they just have more things to use against you. You don't see federal really too much denying bonds. And Fulton County has already been on the radar for part of their overcrowding for not using the bond criteria that judges are supposed to consider with setting bonds. They are supposed to take their income into consideration, and they are not. They have been proven by record to not be operating that way. And now you have all these people looking in and looking at these things. They're seeing it. And so for her to, what Love has on record she used against Jeffrey was lyrics and his brother's 14-year-old case. There was a text message. Those are the two things that she put forward to say why one of his bonds should be denied. But he's been denied bond more than 5 times now. So they're not giving him his liberties. Hey, Keys. Lovin says, I watched a trial that Hilton prosecuted and now it's on appeal. Yes, that is one thing that I have been looking into is their prior cases that they have prosecuted. And I'm going to tell you, even looking at the judges that are on the bench on how all of them are not not doing the criteria of what the bond should be taken into consideration. They are holding way harsher guidelines that have been proven through looking at all the bond amounts. And so you're seeing that, but you're seeing that the minute you work for them, or you do something that they tell you to do, you are instantly then no longer a threat. You're no longer dangerous. You're no longer a problem, and you are A-okay with them. As long as you do what they tell you to do, when they tell you to do it, and how you're going to do it, then you are A-okay with them. And then someone said there was a warrant that went out for Woody, and guess it was something with the four-wheeler hitting a car, but it wasn't even him, and it was on camera that it wasn't him. So what does that tell you right there? Now, I don't know if those are the circumstances, so I'll say allegedly, because I don't know if that's exactly what occurred and what had happened. But I feel like it's going to be anything now. And I just say, if you're given a chance at life and you know that the county that you're in is corrupt, and you know that the county that you're living in is against you, and you know that you've had prior run-ins with people from back in the day, that you shouldn't have to look over your shoulder every day or have to walk around with security, why be there and why subject your children to that for the rest of their life? If you have enough money to be stable, why wouldn't you start over somewhere where you don't have that life? And you don't have to walk around with that type of uncertainty, and you don't have to worry about a prosecution team against you or certain officers or investigators against you. Like, why wouldn't you take what you have and be able to apply it to a true fresh start? You're not proving anything by staying where you're at. You're drawing unnecessary, unwanted attention to yourself that's not going to result in good, because they don't want you there. And they know that they can do certain things to provoke you to take you there. I feel like when you're blessed with a certain amount of money that can be life changing to start over, you have to allow yourself to do that. And Jeffrey, for one, needs to take all of the taxes that he gives that state and get out of that state. All the property he owns, the money that he has put in, and the things that he's done, they don't deserve him by allowing these to continue to happen. And he definitely needs to buy all his brothers and sisters a home, a vehicle. I would sell everything that I bought within that state and get my money back for every single thing, from every house to every car, and I would do it all over in a different state that appreciates my business and me, because I'm gonna give back. So our the relationship will be different between the county and himself. And for someone who hadn't been getting in trouble or going in and out the courts or the system and had never been jailed before, deserves way more respect and dignity than what he's been given. I would sell every single piece and get every dollar back that ever went in, and I would leave. You seen today for the funeral services that were held for Rich Homie Quan, they had the sheriff had a letter, the county had a letter for Fulton. And it's like the same county that give you hell and will take you through hell will then try to say how good of a person you are when you did, because of the type of spotlight and where they did it and how they did it. They had to get a piece of it. And I look at that like it's just sick. It's really sick, because we're watching it every single day. And we watched his name be brought up. And you seen Love did that very fast when they announced of his passing. Pamela said it was a different county. What was a different county? She said, I think he was several counties away. Who was? I'm not sure what so you just have to look at how, how they do things. And it's like if you do things with dignity all the time, then certain things aren't right, and you know what the situation is. And if you have somebody that comes straight out and says Woody, um, yeah, it could have been several counties away, but his PO is in Fulton, and he said that's where the warrant came out of. So wherever he was at, it wasn't an issue. It was an issue within his PO, which then I think it was the whoever they dealt with, the warrant went. So I think that's the differential. And that's why I say, even what people don't understand, when you are on papers or you're on probation, and even if you're on parole, you are able to get transferred to a different state. So it's not like you have to feel stuck. If you tell your probation officer, you know what, I'm going to move my family, my children to another state for a new start, and, I'm going to leave this chapter behind, you will get your transfer. The other state has to accept you, but go to a state that you know that will accept you. There is a lot of states that will. Hey, D, where's your partner in crime? So it's sick all the way around the board on how they're playing it, and they see this time and time again. And then what are they gonna do to little D when he gets up there and pleads the fifth? Oh, there you go. You guys are one behind the other always. Boy, you guys are literally yin and yang on this app. Lord. Lovin says Woody shouldn't do anything because the prosecution is already upset with him, so they're gonna try to lock him up. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be out here doing any of the above, period, because you know how they're coming. Mel, um, it's the whole point of corruption, and everybody wants to talk about all the other crazy things, instead of the corruption that is happening day in day out. We're seeing them do these acts and then bring them forward, and they're willing to do just witnesses any type of way if they're not performing the way they want them to perform. It says, Slick says, next time hit the panel. I gotta back sure Slick don't get blocked nowhere else. Where are you guys coming from? What chat you guys coming from? It looks like you guys had some trouble somewhere. You guys had some trouble you guys were causing trouble somewhere? What happened, guys? Oh my God. So we're watching it in real time, and we're watching it happen day after day. Like I said, when Lil D's fathers came out and said, my son has done his time. He's sick now. He's been sick. Like, leave him alone. They're so far in the past to where the crime that they keep on bringing up for him, he's already done his time. His time is already served. Oh, says, no, we're always being good here in attendance. You are hilarious. We appreciate you. We appreciate you for sure. We appreciate everyone. But you guys are cool. You guys are cool with me. You guys have always been good to me, and I appreciate it. So I just want to know on what their motive is and what their motive is going to be when they are forcing him to hurry up and take this stand. So when he gets up there and says, I plead the fifth, he's just a witness, so he is able to do that. But how are you going to handle him with that since you were able to put him in jail? Even in his condition, you risk the liability. You put the liability of that young man's life in your hands because when you are in a sickle cell crisis, you can die at any given time because you don't have enough red blood cells and oxygen going to your body. Like I said, my daughter has it and has had transfusions and crises and hospital stays. And I have lost my god sister from sickle cell, and I lost her fast. She didn't even make it to 30. And she went in for another crisis, and she was up talking everything else. And overnight, that was it. Her body dipped too fast, too low overnight, and they couldn't bounce her out of that crisis. And she would be hospitalized just like once every 3 months. This man, 10 times, they said in the past 4 months, he's in a bad crisis. And they're willing to take that liability on their hands. That lets you know. Nobody's came out to say, did he get the bond granted? Did the judge sign, or did they what? Nobody. They turned the camera off. Nobody has no update on that. I know the older guy showed up. You could barely hear him on the microphone, but the judge wanted the cameras off. So what happened with his bond? Everybody knows he's in Grady again. Okay, he had got moved overnight into Monday morning. It was really Monday morning, but he had been in jail all weekend and only in the medical unit for a couple hours before he was transferred out in a crisis. Does anybody in the chat know what happened to his bond? Did anybody see an update anywhere? Because the cameras were off and I have not heard the defense say anything else. Says to get out the hospital for a day and go to jail is crazy work. He wasn't even out for a day. They took him at discharge. He didn't even get home. Politicus says no. Let me see if I know they had the one. I don't know if the father had came back out. I know the sister was supposed to speak out, and I didn't hear her speak out about it. Trying to see now. I'm asking right now. Nope, I don't see it. So we don't know if it was a. Oh, wow. Let me send a text and ask real quick. I just sent a text and asked to see. Yes, Slick. So I've been coming on later. Candy and I were on the phone earlier, and she's been taking care of things for the past couple days. And I had not been on every night how we usually are because I had a procedure done. And so I just been coming in and trying to update of what we're working on and what, has been sent out and where we're at on things. I'll probably have her do tomorrow's, and then I just do a little bit, but I had another procedure. And so I've been going through that. I got a little bit of a long road, but I'm still on it and I'm still plugging away, still doing the job and everything. Crazy work. So he says, so the Hilton Love connection. I think the interesting email was Ashley. I think that email should go without saying because I think it's very slick how you can just bump up a witness and you do it when you know that this attorney is going to be on vacation and you've been had it and it's been on record. Yeah, Dee, that's the same one. Thank you, Slick. Thank you, Mel. But she's Arnold's lawyer. That's whose lawyer she is. And I guess this has been on the record. So for Love to do that was very dirty. That was very dirty. And like she said, well, I don't know if he's fine with someone else stepping in for her. And Ashley is going to be like, no, I prepared him for this. Yeah, Mel, Zachary got that old gentleman that had came to court. Merchant is Arnold's attorney. And he was supposed to testify like he was like 8 people away according to the list, and mysteriously he got moved up. When Ashley had on record, then she had also asked, possibly for a 7 day in advance, which that shouldn't be hard if you know how you're calling your witnesses and what order you're calling your witnesses. But I think it's crazy work. She added 28 more witnesses. Um, D, I can't read. I thought his first name was Zachary, and I don't know why I thought that, but I know his last name is Arnold. Um, it might not be. Does anyone know his first name? But I know it was Arnold. Oh yeah, Martinez Arnold. Yes. Okay. Yes, Monica. Thank you, beautiful one. Appreciate it. I'm definitely trying to bounce back and get better. Definitely am. Yeah, so I mean it had been on record for what did Whitaker say? It's been on record for like a year. And she was like, well, if he gets on the stand, she is not going to be required to be here, so you just can't proceed. But it's like, why should you have to be told that? And why would that was a slick move? You say because your other witnesses had to be shuffled around. The only person that had to be shuffled was Little D, but you were forcing him at this time. If you have 100 and something witnesses left to go and 28 more, there is no differential of what you're, if you put them down a couple more people. There makes no difference. And especially if you've already been told he's going to plead the fifth, you are totally wasting your time with trying to think that you have something, so you're going to have a whole 1 minute? I mean, yeah, at some point you have to make it make sense. And then the reason why y'all had to go through all this to give this man the subpoena is because y'all subpoena expired. It was gone. So you had to, like, nobody thought of that before all these expired. Like, man, they are so buried with trying to put their theory into it to where they really think they got something, and they're missing all the RICO ingredients. It's really sick. And the judge is allowing her to run circles around her. Love is running circles. She has not stopped that woman. She needs to direct that woman to the podium when she is speaking to a witness. There is no reason she needs to parade around on a single microphone doing circles and stopping directly in front of the witness. And that last day with Moontung, she went up to the court reporter's desk area and just started flipping through papers, took nothing out, and then just opened the other one and closed it. It was like embarrassment, and um she was embarrassed because she had just been told by Miss Love and Moontunk about how she's talking to him. Like, have some order about your courtroom. That's intimidating the witnesses right there when you got to speak and then you start talking louder on a single microphone directly in front of them. But every other attorney, the only time they approach, you got to ask to approach the witness from the podium. You have to get permission every time from the judge. Why is she allowed to parade and stop right in front and walk up on the witness? You ain't stopping to ask permission. That's still approaching the witness. You're standing directly in front of where they're sitting. And then Dee says she forgets the theory all the time when questions. Says fact, she run the room. Slick said Dee Glanville gave her that confidence. Did because he allowed it. And he even allowed her to continue to argue with him, to where Weinstein had to say at some point, Your Honor, your ruling's got to stick. We've seen that happen all the time where he would just kick everything down to the road. Beautiful One says, Amen. It's so unprofessional for Love to be parading around in the court. And then it's like it's almost like it's a stage, and it's like you're at a comedy show and they got the microphone and walking back and forth on the stage, and you got to keep on following them with your eyes. But we're seeing it in a courtroom. But every other attorney is at that podium addressing the witness on cross or recross or whatever else, but at the podium. And before they even go anywhere near the witness, they say, Judge, may I approach the witness? Why she's even allowing that is beyond me. And politicking with Mel said she forgot she's not the judge anymore. Yes, I said that the day before yesterday. Definitely. She is forgetting her role and what she's doing. It's like you're not in that seat no longer, ma'am. Yes, she was a judge for just one term with juveniles. Juvenile court. Imagine that. Children. And obviously, some didn't shake right to be a prosecutor, because that's definitely a step down. So what she's doing, and for the judge to yes, I did, beautiful one, I did see the trial today. I was able to catch up. um the way that she's being allowed to do that, and then just walking around and stopping in front of the witness like that, and the judge not to instruct her that she either needs to be at her desk with her microphone, or she needs to be at the podium. But the appropriate place is when you're on direct or cross is at the podium, unless the judge says you may do it from the area of where you're sitting with the microphone. But with all the issues that they're having with their microphone, why is it only the defense giving the respect to the court and the judicial system by using the system that is in place? We ain't never seen no prosecutor parade around the courtroom like that on open mic night. Politicking with Mel said she barely knows the law, always pulling out that red book. Or AI says that's why she likes to scream like they kids, because they used to be. Exactly. I think the cameraman complained. That's why Paige told her she could stand wherever. Well, I mean, the cameraman got to get in where he fit in, first of all. And he's really not in a good spot, to keep it all the way real, because we can't see anything from behind. Like, I wish they would back it up some so you can see the defense more and things like that. Says Love has Whitaker in hot water with Darius Zachary. I don't think so, because nobody's speaking on it. We don't even know if he got bail or what Paige did with that. And that's the whole crazy part. There's nothing that they're gaining from none of this mess. And every time they put some type of order in place, it's one that is so foul and so messed up that you know that they are too desperate. It says, they claim they don't want the jury seen. Right, but Mel, remember that they have already came out and said, and the news channel, Law and Crime, and the attorneys have said on record, and the judge has said on record, that the privacy screen has been covering the juries the entire time, that nobody sitting from the bench has been able to view them for over 11 months. And the only way you can see them is if you're the witness or you're the judge or you're up there at the podium. And I don't even know if you can see them at the podium, because the way they described it is only witness stand and the judge and the court reporter can actually be in visual sight of them. No other, because of the security screen. So nobody that has been in the courtroom sitting there are in view of them. So they can back it up to a point and still have them, because they said they're off to the left. He can still back up the camera and get more of the courtroom to the right and the front. Because I think everybody's pretty tired of hearing that chair squeak. And she purposely will grab that one single mic and stand directly in front of the camera. Says every other trial I've seen, I can see the audience. Yes, so that's what I'm saying. It's a bad camera angle. It's bad angles up in there when it could catch a whole lot more. It says no, he is sick, and Whitaker signed an order for his arrest as a witness, and he has been labeled as a witness who can't get to come, but he has been sick. Yeah, beautiful one. But they turned off the camera, so we don't know what their take was on it, and nobody has covered it because nobody could be in there. Says, their logic is warped. They showed a pic of Bennett and didn't show her face on camera. Yeah, I mean, uh, several things that have went up that weren't supposed to be up. Like, we didn't hear back about the issue with the CAD reports. There were certain things that were supposed to be redacted out of the CAD reports that went to the bench, and then we didn't hear no more of it because the issue with Zachary happened. And that's what I say with this. This is so flawed that you go from one extreme to another extreme, that they have to double back, remember what happened with the last extreme, and then how did the one before that close out. They have too much happening continuously. Like, it don't stop. And Whitaker should, by all means necessary, hold the prosecution team, the entire team, responsible for that warrant that they put out on that gentleman when he could have been served the subpoena. They said that the warrant went out because they were unable to reserve him the subpoena. His original subpoena had expired. That is your negligence. That is your fault. And because he was not able, nobody was able to serve him the subpoena because you were going through all the legal outlets. If you sent your officers there to arrest him, then why wasn't it good enough to just serve him if you knew where he was? And if you're saying that's what the issue was. And Whitaker signing that warrant, she shouldn't be let off, because if you go back to September 7th and September 6th, whatever day Love was in that pink skirt and top, not the Pepto-Bismol color one, the brighter one, when she had that outfit on, I believe it was September 6th or 7th, she stood up and said that Zachary was sick. Little D was sick and that he wasn't doing well and he was in the hospital. So that was a witness that, so she was already aware. Whitaker was told on record, and she still signed that warrant. So Whitaker should be on the hook too. It ain't just on Love. It was put on record, and Sharp followed up and said something, and still even has something on record about him being very ill. So Whitaker has then heard about it 3 different occasions from prosecution, defense Steele, and defense Sharp. So she was in the know that that boy, that young man, is sick, and she still signed the warrant. So it don't make no sense that she would even help enforce that. It is the same way they did Glanville with Bennett. All these dirty tactics. So the defense needs to also bring it to light that the judge, you were in the know and allowed this to happen. Why? Love didn't lie to Whitaker, because they all have put on record that that boy is sick, hospital sick. And she still signed the warrant. It don't make any sense. They have to hold accountability everywhere. There is no reason that they need him right now to get up there and just plead the fifth. and throw and take his health into a liability. His health becomes your liability when you're in a crisis and you lack treatment and end up back in the hospital. Politicking with Mel, I have that feeling. She don't. And some of the comments that she makes lets you further know that she don't want to understand who they really are. But she knows that what makes it even worse, what makes it even worse is them two setting him up. Says Whitaker is so lost on this trial, she probably doesn't know which little D it is. Well, she has enough sense to know that there has been two that they have talked about, and they know one is really sick. And if you're saying that you have to grab him from the hospital, that would suggest that it is the sick one. So I don't feel like her hands are clean on this. She was in the know. She knew exactly what was happening. And she didn't put no stop to it. She put her name on it. And I'm sorry, but if you know that it's coming from the prosecution and you know the prosecution has had issues with their witnesses and issues with evidence and all of that, why wouldn't you question it? And if you know it's a little D and you know one has been sick and you know they got to pick them up from the hospital, you know, to put all that together, I'm that's a sorry excuse. Both their hands are stained. You ask me, something happens to that young man up in there, or if something happens to him now with him in this hospital, say that blood is on their hands. And she's equally responsible. She is definitely equally responsible. And it's something about it that a judge come in and then they turn bias. This ain't no coincidence that Glanville did that and Whitaker, everything she came in and stood on, she failed on. Because she has this prosecution team not following through with none of her orders. She says to turn something over, have it ready. It's not. She's been told more than a handful of times. She's been admonished, rebuked. She's been warned about candor. She done had to have Brady video rewatch of a video that they're supposed to be teaching that did nothing. She didn't stand on nothing. She came in and tried to lay down. And she got her just approaching the witness in front of their podium until she get the answer that she want and think she gonna get it by raising her voice like they're a child. Like she questions them as if she's questioning a juvenile still. There's no type of justice being served anyway. Whitaker can't control that courtroom. She'll go off about a phone and a banana in a hot minute, before she'll go off on that state like that. But a banana and a phone can catch hell. It don't make sense. And she knows all this wrong that is being done, and she's still allowing it every day. She will get Pamela, you Remember, we talked about that banana caught a whole stray in there, and then the phone today caught a stray, and it keeps on happening. And it's like, whoever the phone is, you're obviously embarrassing them by doing that, but you'd rather have a chief prosecutor sit up in your face than lie or don't follow through with the order. And you say, well, didn't I? I thought I told you. Well, can you have it by? And it'll be another 3, 4 days. It's like you're not running your courtroom, ma'am, and you're watching these folks be railroaded, and you're not serving any type of justice or doing anything, and you're allowing the prosecutors to stain your hands like how you just did with this little D situation. Your hands are now stained with it, and that's the same thing. They got Glanville wrapped up in their staining. It's going back down the same path. It says, "Hey, was there an address for QZ? All I saw was last known addresses." For QZ, what's that? I'm not sure what you're saying, beautiful one. Is how the order and the process of how they're doing things, and um Whitaker allowing the theatrics to keep on taking place, the wordplay, having all these sentences run together and still not come out with what it is. Um, the jury's time is just being wasted. They spend more time in the damn back than they do out there. I mean, their little room that the juror rooms that are assigned to jurors, I mean, that just has to be most of their day where they are just able to sit there and talk about the damn case. Because they're sent to the back several times a day and extended breaks, extended lunches, because nothing is ever ready. I can't understand how the judge that no matter how many times she puts it on record and tries to have them clean it up, like today, this is the absolute last time. She said that last time because she was mad about it the time before that. And then they had to be done for the day and have a rest of the administrative day because they didn't have their witnesses together. So what are y'all doing? Are these witnesses saying, no, I don't want to come? And you guys are out here forcing? Because I ain't never seen this many warrants that had to take place and picking people up on material just to come testify. I've never seen this many just coming out left and right. Like, are you guys contacting them and saying, you remember the case I from 9 years ago? I need you to come in tomorrow and come testify. And they're like, whoa, I ain't available. What you mean tomorrow? Then what happens from there? Like, where do the warrants come in? Where are I'm not understanding how they're trying to justify this and they can't get nobody lined up to come in continuously or faithfully. It's not making sense. Like something is not right with that. And then the judge sitting up. I have never seen a judge allow a prosecution team not follow through what the court ordered them to do and by a certain time. I have never seen a prosecution team that negligent that we can count on more than several fingers of orders they did not follow through with or comply with or were not on time from that judge. And these little slap on the wrist are nothing equal to what the audience is feeling and the defense is getting. Because she is very rude to people that come in. And the way she speaks to people that are in the crowd and at the bench is wild. And we seen Glanville did the same thing. And it seems like the judges are getting stained by their tactics, and then they realize it after the fact. Look how Glanville was, boy, he was stroking his ego so good. It was just ridiculous, doubling down on his mess. And then something happened during that break where he came back with a realization. It was like 3, 4 hours later, and he was reading his recusal. And his voice was trembling, and he was like, I'm gonna do this, do that, because he had knew somebody had advised him. You got a lot of heat happening right now, a lot of eyes, and you've made some critical decisions that are very effective on this case. It was a whole different Glanville that everybody did not see, and we're about to see the same thing with Whitaker. Because she's messing up Jack by allowing all these antics. All the next time, which should be tomorrow, she parade around with that microphone and yell at a witness and stop dead in front of where they're sitting up there at that podium in the witness box. That defense needs to raise hell. They need to say, Your Honor, we need to instruct prosecution to not be walking up on the witness like that. That is intimidation. We have to ask, we have to have permission by the court to approach a witness. We should not be allowed to parade around them and stop directly in front of the witness during any type of direct or cross. I put that on record because it's happening with every witness that is up with love. And I noticed that when Hilton just did her last one, I noticed she did a little bit of it. So it's monkey see, monkey do. Oh, I'm going to do it. She just did that. I'm going to see if I can get away with it. She learning all the wrong things. But defense needs to put that on record. Because they can show what is happening not only by the record, but actions. See, an appeal court can't see these antics that we see. They're just reading what the questions, they're reading the transcripts. So you need to make sure that the reflection, the record also has a insight of their actions. So putting that on record is very smart. Says Glanville accused Kayla of being the mole. He eliminated everyone in the room as a suspect but Kayla. Yeah, he absolutely, and he should apologize. It was his own dang on sheriff. Sad. And then when Love and Hilton got caught with the dirty tactics with Melnick and them emails, and he said, "Well, I don't believe they'll do anything and intentionally, maliciously. I've known them for many, many years. That lets you know right there. Your friendship is getting away with your job because you're not able to separate your work and your law and what you have to uphold as a jurist to a sidebar friendship. Ain't no way. And you're seeing the same thing with Whitaker. Whitaker is making decisions that are messing her up, excuse me. But defense, like I said, needs to put that up on the record. So that way they have an insight of the actions that they are doing and the antics that they're using. Because we're not only seeing it through forms of warrants and other things, like all the things that happened to Mrs. Bennett from that office, and the other person that lost their job, and the other person that was begging to not come because they didn't know anything or see anything. All of these things have been put on record. All this stuff is forced. So the record's reflecting that, but now they got this new thing with this little open mic and this tactic, and the way it has not been effective, because every time she did this in front of Thorpe today, um, he said something that was like more damaging. Um, and the same thing with Muntu. When she was right there doing that in front of him, he lost it and said, "You don't intimidate me." So defense needs to put a stop to that, because they can't even bring a paper up going towards the witness without permission of the court. And this judge is just sitting there. Half the time you can't see her head over the big old computer screen. And then when she finally does poke her head up because something crazy was asked or it's an objection, she's trying to figure out what the question is. You don't know where she's at or what she's looking at. And she wants to keep on going off record for a lot of things now. And it's like, no, that needs to stay on record. It says, beautiful. And basically, to see love in action actually shows her freedom in the court. Yeah, it definitely does. It shows that I'm going to do it my way. And I know I'm not supposed to be walking up on the witness or doing none of that, but I'm going to do it. And ain't nobody going to stop me. And whatever Paige got going on back there when you can't see her head and she's sitting there and then she sits up with that attitude, or if it's taking too long, she's getting tired. She's the one that's asking for the breaks, but then want to get mad if a witness asks for a break and say, okay, we've already had enough. But as soon as something starts to fly, it's a break. Or if the testimony is being stretched too far and you keep on saying, get to the point, get to the question, get to what you want to ask. That's all we hear. She's so uninterested to be there. Beautiful one says, like she has free reign. She does. She does. And you don't see the defense do that, but you can tell that they would never operate in that manner neither. They keep on giving respect to the court and the judicial system, and that just shows a lot of their character. They're not changing who they are and their respect and honor to the court, even though they know they are dealing with corruption. And that has to be a lot weighing on every single one of them walking up in there, because what do you tell your client after so many things have come out to show that this is so wrong on so many levels? What do you tell your client when you know that they are being railroaded. What do you tell them? I know you know the judge not supposed to do that. I know you know the prosecution's not supposed to do that. I know it makes a difference for them to stand up and fight differently because with Glanville, they were afraid they were going to go to jail if they spoke up too hard. After Steele got arrested, that fear was in every single one of them, but the prosecution. You have to understand it's not just running from just that courtroom. It's they got a whole line of corruption that every news and commissioner and Senate is highlighting. And it's getting worse and worse, where they're even willing to take liability of people's lives that are gravely sick on their hands if they die, risking paying out their entire family a huge amount of money so the taxes can increase even higher. Don't nobody want to stand for what's right, but want to just do the little things. You imagine if everybody, every single person will write a letter in that has substance. It's sometimes like the impact of things that you have to sometimes make happen. Flood the Senate, flood the Senate, flood the commissioners, flood all of them. Because it's sick that you're allowed to play with people the way that they're playing with people, and they don't even care. They're playing with witnesses too. It ain't just the young man sitting there. They're playing the hell out of the witnesses too. They don't care if you lose your job. They don't care if you sexually harassed. They don't care if you're intimidated. They don't care if they're in fear of you. They don't care if you go to jail, if you don't do what they say. They don't care if you get food. They don't care if you get water. They don't care. You're going to do what they say, and that's what they said. But now they got a whole new judge where they're supposed to be able to come out and be free. And she put that sheep cloth on quick. This trial been going on long enough, and this what it's going to be, and this how my rules, and this what it is going forward. It's like, whoa, girl. And now you fast forward 3 months. She's had this case now 3 months. You got Love on open mic night. You still got her lying. You still got her caught doing things. You signing bogus warrants. You know this person's sick. It's been put on record from prosecution and defense, more than one. You got more evidence coming out. You got what Love said today. Oh, well, we got new evidence. Y'all back at the bench. You still got no understanding of RICO and what the elements are to RICO. And there's nobody's operating within those right now. Nobody is. And you're playing with these men's life. And you got your head DA under all type of rapid fire again, and she's ignoring subpoenas. So y'all definitely are trying to run the prosecution office and overrun the courts. And some of them are scared. And I'm tell you, Paige, one of them, she's scared. She's scared because they have briefed her, and she thinks something totally different, but now she's not seeing it, but can't undo because she's afraid of them. And she knows that voting's coming back up for that seat. This is about her name and getting her name out there, but now you looking like a fool to people. Now they grouping you in the same category with the same ones that are being investigated. You getting the wrong light for the wrong reasons like Glanville did. And he's new in his seat. And that's what I say about the new ones. There's 3 new ones in this circle for Fulton. And the only 3 new ones is Willis, Labatt, and Glanville. And them are the 3 that are named in every one of the complaints and investigations. Go figure. You think she ain't scared? You see Judge Krause ain't scared. Fonnie just asked to get her removed off that case, since she ruled that the prosecution as a whole are responsible for withholding those reports that the merchant firm had requested through open records. They filed a lawsuit. They're not playing. And then she failed to her subpoena to Commissioner Jim Jordan. And her capital, she had a subpoena and she didn't show. So where's the respect for the ones that you're supposed to be working under as a whole for? There's not even a respect level there. But she had thought that hi Ayana, she had thought that um her credentials were going to override that. And she thought she could use they are not allowed to impede on my investigation. And they're saying, we're not impeding on your investigation. We're not saying what you can and can't do in that trial. We're saying we requested these records and you are supposed to turn them over. That is what it's about. So, like I said, I think her counsel advised her wrong, and they had a meeting this evening that they said ran into overtime because now they have to get higher up involved because of this. So for Love even to be playing the game when that's her boss, and she see her boss under that type of fire. And she's already put on record why I didn't want to call him in the first place, talk about putting right up there. Well, who made that call? Are you saying you're the chief and head of the case, but Hilton made that call? Or are you saying your boss made that call? Because I thought your boss couldn't have nothing to do with the case because of the conflict of interest with Mondo. But somehow the judge accepted a motion from you when Steele and the other defense were trying to get rid of the prosecutors because they're witnesses, and they are. They are being handcuffed by the court to not be able to call the witnesses that they are legally able to call because 1 is a judge and 2 are prosecutors, and that is not right. Beautiful One says, one disgusting thing Paige asked Love was, does she want to entertain a mistrial? I mean, yeah, 35 in, it should have been entertained. I found the RICO, it's in the DA's office. Yeah, they say 2 or more people, 3 or more people, and you got them in numbers. We've already counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 total. 7 total. I don't know how many are in that office, but that's enough. You can't just do whatever you want to do because you have the position and the power. It's the people's seat. And they are necessarily all witnesses. And they really, really made the crucial mistake when um, Steele got arrested because the Glanville is necessarily a witness, and so is the prosecution. And Love knew exactly. And they said that there was no other ex partes. So they said it that day. So that should also be an issue because there was another ex parte that they never offered any information. And the one how it was announced was not something that was done in open court. It was after court was dismissed and everybody was wrapping up and doing their own thing. And the defense should have made the judge review when and how that was announced because she wouldn't have ruled the way she ruled had she seen that. It's a whole lot going on, but we see where all the money has went to. Love got a great increase. Atkins got an increase. Hilton got an increase. Bonnie got an increase. Wade got a huge increase. He was paid the most. I want to say that's one bad man, Jack. Wade got paid. Bonnie got laid. And the citizens got played. Because them taxes were coming out, honey. And you got Love playing, and you got tag teaming her partner Hilton, and they having Atkins fill in the dirty work, the leftover work that's from the dirty work that he can be involved in, but they not giving him too much. You can tell by his facial expressions, he's not filled in on A and B or C. He comes in maybe D and E, maybe it might be all the way down to G some of the days. And Brown needs a whole lot of skills. His technique of questioning and facial expressions and all of that, and the way he made such a big deal about the judge accidentally calling him Miss Brown is wild. He was so offended. But you're not offended when your team lies to the court. Come on now. You don't want to address that. Don't nobody want to say that's a representation of the office, but we seen YFN Lucci's courtroom, why his prosecutors at the table were respectful to the defense and speaking and complimenting each other and working with each other, gave that man a bond, worked with them, got him a good deal, all of that working together. What was the difference? And he was on camera, pushed out a whole dead body. They wish they had all the evidence they had on him. They wish they had that on Jeffrey. And Jeffrey can't even get a bond. And he's willing to pay for security 24 hours a day, off duty police, all that ankle bracelet, and everybody entering in will be subject to a search and only be on a list. You're willing to incur more expenses. And they say, nope, you're dangerous. But they have yet to talk about them. And it's not illegal to rent a car. It's not illegal for anyone to drive the rental. If you tear it up, you pay for it. He did. And what anyone did with that rental is not on him. Says we should have known who Whitaker was when she gave the defense the ex parte from the 7th at the end of the day to say it wouldn't be Brady. Everything to her is not Brady. She is trying to get enough notoriety to where her name is going to ring bells, and it is not going to help the situation. Her name it was ringing bells in the beginning, but people had hope and faith in her. And I think that a lot of people have already formed their opinion on her because of the way that she has been ruling and the way she has allowed love to have her antics, and they are still unprepared. They are still late. They are still showing up late. They are still not having their witnesses ready. They are still having the judge be signing bogus warrants. That is still occurring. They're still intimidating witnesses. Now they're allowing to parade around the courtroom and walk up on the witness without asking permission. They don't have to go to the podium to speak. They're running it their way and having their way. And she has lost all control. And it's been in front of everybody. So everybody has their opinion on her. So the same hope that people have for her coming in, they have been losing that hope over the course of the weeks. And so it's really what she does, but she knows that um, any, it says Whitaker is on the sinking ship. Yeah, she lost control after week one. She lost control after week one. Week one really wasn't, they didn't really do too much. Week two was kind of like raising an eyebrow every now and again. And then week three, her feet were really planted. And now she's just at an all-time over it. Um, is not trying to hear nothing out, doing it her way. Just not, ain't nothing making sense. So we're gonna see tomorrow. We're gonna see tomorrow what it's gonna be. It's gonna be real interesting to see how this is playing out and how many witnesses they're gonna have lined up, or what new thing is gonna pop up out of nowhere that keeps on occurring. So we'll be I think Ken will start it out tomorrow. And then I'll have to come on later. As I said, I've been on and off having the procedures. So I do know that I have to go for a scan tomorrow, and then I have to finish my work for the day, and then I can get on and do a recap with you guys. I did have the video that I still have to put up, and I want to share. I did, like I told you guys, the video of what they don't want you to see. So I'm gonna put it to you guys first, and then I'm gonna submit it in. Says, did y'all see Still past the shark today? And they came back and got his question in. Yeah, they did they always do a good job setting each other up with the questioning and finishing it off, because most of the time they do have to come from two different angles. Hold on one second, guys. I gotta open the door for my dog. Guys, I don't know if I told y'all. I got a XL bully, and he is a big boy. He is a very big boy. I don't know if you guys have ever had an XL bully, but they are very strong. And I keep on saying he's been here before, because he can try to talk. I swear he tries to get out words. Um, but he is really, really big. He got bright, bright, icy eyes. I have to put him on camera, um, when I'm able to handle him a little bit better. Not with my stitches right now, because he'll sure tear him up. He is a really big boy, but he is that kind of breed where they look like a little bit camouflage, but he has like a whole bunch of white on him, and then certain parts. Like he's a very unique looking dog, like one you see in the magazines. He was a hell of a lot. But everybody always says, "Oh, he looks so dope. He's so cool." And I say, "He is crazy. He is crazy." But I guess they're their type of you have your red nose, your blue nose, and then this other, I always forget the breed, but they make a big deal out of them. They said because they're like only a small percentage of the population, and he is of a purebred. His line, they say that if he doesn't have if he mate him and you have puppies that are not of his bloodline, like you can mess up his bloodline, is what they're saying. Like if he has puppies with a red nose or a blue nose, it'll mess up his bloodline, is what they were trying to explain to me. I think I got it right. But they keep inviting them to those like conferences that you bring the dogs to for the XL bullies, because of how he looks and the color of his eyes and his markings. Like if you took a picture of him in some snow, it would probably look crazy. Sometimes his eyes be freaking me out. And especially when he starts trying to talk. It's when I'm on the computer doing too much work, he'll start tripping out for me to get up. Because there's been a lot of things. The past week, I've just been writing a lot of letters in and getting the speech prepared, that we have for the 25th. And so that's a big day. So the 25th, we have the official speaking, in front. And so working on that, if any of you guys have any ideas or something that you think is very valuable to add in, like please let us know. Send us an email. Both Ken and I look in the emails every day, and we both have access inside the email. We both look at them. But just getting that stuff prepared, we already have the letters out, but the speech, we have been working on and trying to make it very impactful and make sure that we cover every single spot of it, and don't want to miss any of the areas that we're seeing. And then I'm working on the whole side of the other part of the bond, and where the violation of the laws and why they're blurred, because they're in a pretrial detention facility. They're not designed for the length of time that they have been in there. And they would be outside of the guidelines of the prison system. They would be in violation. So if they would be in violation in a place that what they consider a prison because they are already convicted, it is different. You are considered innocent when you are in a pretrial. So if you are not allowed by law to do these things if you are a convicted prisoner in the system versus in a pretrial detention facility as guilty, that these guidelines are definitely violated because I listed all of the statutes in the pretrial detention that state that they are outside of their guidelines and they are not even within the state guidelines. And so they do need to bring it to a reconsideration due to that fact that they are in violation. And I think that the law, that's one thing I do have included on the speech, is the law needs to be very clear on the pretrial detention, where a new law needs to be written and be sent up the chain. Because if you are in a pretrial detention facility and it is prolonged, and it is prolonged due to the state and the preparation of the case, not because they have everything lined up ready to go, and they wait years, and their jury trial was even 11 months, almost 11 months long, and then their wait after that was over a year, that they are not allowed to be held without bond for that length of time. And because it states in the pretrial detention facility, you do have to have mental health checkups on the person, and you cannot keep them under the same guidelines as 23-and-1 lockdown as a punitive, because it's not. It is for status only. You have to give them the same you have to give them the same things that you would get as if you were in regular population. So the phones should be longer, their time out should be longer, and they should have more visits that they should be available to, the same as regular population. It states it right within their guidelines, and it is for the state of Georgia. So they have to follow those guidelines, and those are all of the rules and regulations that they have to follow. And you see that they're outside of that. And now that this much time has passed and so many things have occurred, over 50 of the Mandela rules are applying to them. And so you have to look at, it's way past the activist stage. They have truly, truly stripped them of all of their constitutional rights and their liberties. And that makes a difference. And if you're not even upholding the pre-detention statutes and guidelines and regulations, and you're out of the states, then that means you're operating on your own accord. And that is when it's an issue. And because this is a special circumstance, it has to be raised. It has to be raised in that manner instead of in a manner with, because I asked for a mistrial, I'm going to also go for bond at this time. You need to go for bond because of these conditions being violated and because of the length of time, and they are in that gray area. And that gray area is what gets you your bond because of the circumstances. And they're not within the state guidelines, and they are outside of the pretrial detention. And it clearly states in there that no pretrial detention facility is geared to hold you for a long period of time, nor can they. You can only strip somebody of their liberties for so long with the circumstances that they've tried to put forward. Those efforts have been done off of false lyrics. And so it truly shows that your art is what is being held against you for bond. So we're going to see exactly how that is going to play out and see how it's going to play out tomorrow and see what the response. I wonder if the response from Merchant is going to come forward. But what I did set aside for you guys, I'm almost done, is 2 RICO cases to show you the different layers and how it has to stay within, and what the appeals have put on to record about RICOs and what they have to have. And once you guys are able to see the substance and the ingredients of the RICO, you would see that they have an issue with even just giving 1 layer of it, and there's still 3 more layers. And so when you hear me talk about the layers and the ingredients, you'll be able to see them firsthand. I'm gonna cover that case with you guys. But I know that court is, I think she said 9 tomorrow. They were delayed again today. Does anybody know why they were delayed again today? Does anybody know what occurred this morning? That it's actually been for the last 2 days, they haven't been on time. I'm not sure what was put on record for it, on why they were delayed again today. The delays make me nervous because when we had a big delay, that's when the ex parte was taking place, and I'm wondering if the defense is in the same mindset as that. Unless they're all in the courtroom together delayed, which would make a difference, but there's been a lot of delays as well. But I'm hoping to have everything done and hoping to already be in Washington far before the election. And I'm very curious to see how the election in Fulton is, because there was the little poll that they had online on Facebook with Fulton County residents, and they were upset with themselves that they have voted for her in the primary, and said that she will not get um, their election vote in November. And so I thought that was interesting on what part made you upset for you to now change your mind. Is it that the daughter was arrested? Was it the YSL trial? Is it more stuff coming out with the Trump trial? Or is it the funds? Is it the lack of responding to subpoenas? What is it that has changed your mind um, for the vote, or is it because Courtney Kramer came forward? But it just makes you wonder because now she's getting heat from Democrats and Republicans. So it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic and how that's going to go forward. But I pulled the cases for you guys. I'm just highlighting a few things. And I've been trying to do that and my regular work and still heal. Got to deliver it to you guys. And we got to keep pushing for the cause and keep on pushing to bring these things to light. I have put it very clear for Paige Whitaker on what the laws state for the pre-detention facilities and what it states for the um, prison facility when you are already convicted and guilty, but in the pretrial, and what the rules and the violations, and included and highlighted all the Mandela rules that now apply. Says Monica B says, wonder if that's why she's in DC so much. Yes, so she has a person that she is connected to in DC at the White House that is basically trying to help her. But from what the news had covered, is that they are trying to keep it under wraps. But there is higher people in position that are now into it, that their hands are really kind of tied. And it is messing up business per usual for her, is what she had came out on record and said. So she is filling the draft of it. So missing out on that subpoena and going to the White House could be for a excuse too, that there was a meeting that she had to go to, but um, nothing supersedes a subpoena. And so what they are trying to consider right now to rule on is if a ordinary citizen does not show up on a subpoena, immediate arrest warrant goes out for them. And so with a person that has power, and you're a DA and you have not complied with two subpoenas that were above your branch, the question is do they have the judge order her to jail? Order her arrest as until she complies. They can do a lot of things with that. And so seeing what they're going to rule on, and since there was a meeting, um, that should be coming out by tomorrow, some type of response on that. And then I believe Judge Krause is supposed to rule tomorrow on the motion that Willis had filed to have her excused off of her case. She wants her off of her case. So it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic. And it's going to be interesting to see if Whitaker is going to be interested in um, the issue with being held without bond for that period of time and in that condition. With the conditions that are placed upon them because of the special housing. Because there's a time limit on that. That is by law. And you can't supersede that because you say he shouldn't get bond because of his lyrics. It doesn't matter what they say. You can't supersede what was written. That has to be followed. So it's going to be interesting to see how it's all going to play out. And since these same very people that are putting out these subpoenas are the very same people that we have to speak in front of, it's going to be very interesting to see what their take is when it comes down to the actions of the YSL trial. And where that is going to go, and where that is going to sit at. So it's gonna be really interesting. But I think that the primary focus has been the Trump trial. But they have to know that her actions and her rulings are definitely over this YSL trial and all of the things that have occurred. And they very well should know of the actions of the chief prosecutor and how she has been conducting herself, because they are very, very much being railroaded, and they are very much being deprived. And we have seen misplaced justice. And that has come out through testimony and evidence and apologies and witness testimony. But there's been enough people affected. Not only the defendants, but witnesses have been affected by these tactics, and it's an overall. You can't sit back and be the problem and have a judge that is not able to have control over her courtroom be the solution of the problem. Because the only way she's going to do a mistrial is if she's really peed off with love. Because she dangles that in front of Love's face as a like a piece of meat when you're playing with these men's lives and you know that what is going on is wrong and you have seen this murder place everywhere, literally everywhere. So we're going to see. It's in a few short hours. We're going to see. And then we're go ahead and pull the RICO case for you guys so you guys can see the ingredients and the case. And then you're going to look at what you're looking at right now. And you will see, like, oh my God, this wasn't even just a regular state case. They would have probably had success if they did it as a regular state case, but once they tried the RICO, that's it. And I'm going to pull up all the ingredients and substance that the law says you have to have for the RICO. So how inexperienced that they are dealing with the RICO is how they're allowing this stuff to come in, because if it's not on that paper, they can't. So we'll bring that tomorrow, but I do have to finish working on the speech because before I know it, the couple days is going to be here where we have to be ready for it. And I hope I'm healed a little bit more. So I really hope that. And I hope I have no more emergency procedures. So that way I can make sure that there is no reschedule, but I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure that I'm there on the 25th and speaking. I'll have to push through it. I'll get my strength for sure. So if there's anything, like I said, that you guys think is valuable that I can include, just drop it to my email. I'm gonna drop my email for you guys and we both read it. Let me take off these caps. Okay, I put that down. So if you guys have anything that you want to um, have an idea or have something that you came up on, or if you found anything that could be of substance that we can add in, I'd be glad to add it in. And we will review it and also give you feedback and let you know, because we are going to go live. And then there will be a news conference. I was told that. So would be able to do both within the same day. So I want to have it all done by the 20th. So I can have the copies printed and then attach it to my tablet so I can make sure I can try to remember all of it to deliver it without having to look at, just maybe glance down if I need to, but I'm trying to remember it as in the entirety. So we'll see. It's on the couple of minutes. You get a certain time frame and you have to be able to squeeze it all into a certain time frame that you're given. And so that's how we got to do it. But it makes a difference when you put it together the right way, and it can be impactful and you can do long researches. And this is time that, I mean, obviously the defense doesn't have. The defense doesn't have this time because they're in court all day and then they're trying to prepare for their tomorrow. So they don't have hours on top of hours to look into every single aspect of the previous regulations that were put into place. And just this month, a new law was put into place. And that is one of the things that I do have in there with the bond stuff, because it was passed and they do have to abide by it. And there are certain guidelines that have been placed on the state of Georgia that has to be abided by. There is no choice. And since it's finally passed and it's finally into place now, um, a judge can't overrule a law. And so that's one thing that we do know. And when she's able to look at it from a different standpoint, not we're requesting bail because we requested a mistrial, or we are requesting bail because there's the ex parte. No, we are requesting bail because what the state of Georgia pretrial detention guidelines and laws state is XYZ, and for the state of Georgia states XYZ. And because we are in a pretrial detention facility for almost 2.5 years, it it's in violation of both because of the type of housing that he's in. And because how he's been housed and what rules that he has to abide by and follow, it's as a punitive rather than a pretrial. And the judge cannot look at any of the acts unless you're a flight risk or you've done something insane on threatening someone or something crazy like that, but you don't have any of those factors. And even if you did, you still can't violate what it states because you have stripped them of their liberties. And if you have over 55 Mandela rules that apply to the situation, that tells you that you are treading in unfamiliar waters when it's that length of time. Now, had this been a couple months, they would have been within the laws if certain things would have taken place. But there's certain mental health stipulations that by law you have to adhere to when you are in that type of housing condition. And so it's going to be interesting to see. So if you have something that you want to add, it's jc2minds1mike@gmail.com. Go ahead and email it to us, and we'll let you know what we're able to take, what we took from it, if we're able to put it in there. So we'll see. We have court in a couple hours, so I'm going to get off of here, and hopefully Can starts it tomorrow, and then I can come in later on. As I said, guys, I have to work all day and then work on the speech, and then I have the scan. So I will get back with you guys. And as always, you guys be safe, be blessed, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. You guys have a great night. Bye, everyone.